Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in Odessa The Dark Crusade Season 2. This evening, the scene is set within the palace of Odessa. Not during its finest nights, but it is undergoing swift and thorough repairs. Gerard has been invited to the palace by the prince personally to discuss issues of importance relating to the domain and certain other both in-house issues and perhaps a more long-standing issue that could potentially be resolved.
So Gerard has foregone his armor this night and is in his noble finery instead, and makes his way through the palace. All the workmen have gone. It's nighttime, so that it's probably rather desolate. But he will be polite to whoever is actually lingering around, and will allow himself to be led to wherever it is the prince is.
Yeah, you are led to what appears to be effectively like a I wouldn't call it office space, far from it. It's more like just a meeting room. Obviously, it's very well decorated and elaborate due to the fact that it is within the palace itself. Very regal and all that. Kind of something like a diplomat's office or something where they wouldn't have this title, but something like a privy chancellor would have. Not actually that, of course, because that is not a thing here, but very much in that sense, in that fashion.
Right.
High-ranking kind of official's office. Everyone's already left, apart from the prince.
Yeah.
Who's just standing waiting for you.
Yeah, so Gerard will enter the chamber, and then whenever the door is closed, I assume if he does it himself or if it was an attendant that did it, whichever the case may be, he is going to address the prince and will drop to a knee.
Lord Gerard, good to have you here. Would you like to take a seat?
Gerard will stand and then gesture for her to do so first, and then we'll sit wherever is appropriate.
Yeah, she goes back around the desk. She just kind of pulls a chair for you, and yeah, just takes a seat.
Gerard looks around and says, "I can't imagine you'd be comfortable here."
It's a fine place to reside. I am very fortunate that I am not the one engaging in the actual function of this place.
True enough.
You're right, it would be remarkably tedious. But on that very matter, there are a few issues I'd like to discuss with you. First, I'd like to thank you. From what I recall, you are the one which has resulted in me residing here in the first place. Just what I'd like to inform you that such a favor won't be forgotten.
Nor will it be ransomed.
Both a gentleman and a pragmatist, I see.
There was a need. The material we had was not up to standard, and it was overlooked for something better.
I'll certainly see that the city becomes better. At least with the Lasombra pacified for the moment.
It will be a serpent that must be watched. But there are more important things at current. I agree.
Yes. I believe first, well, to my knowledge, it has already been largely resolved, or the course of action has been decided upon. But this hunter threat, I hear you have a force which is quite adept at, well, which would be quite adept at dealing with that particular issue.
Even if it is not sufficient, I intend to search far and wide for blades that are not easily swayed by zealotry and who strike deep.
Hmm. Of course, as I've settled into my new position here, I have been made aware of a certain agreement between your forces and the cities. I can have that temporarily suspended so you can do your work without the royalties interference, at least temporarily.
If it comes to that, I will seek you out. Again, I do not think that perhaps fighting men would be best, but rather those who deal in more subtle ways with the blade. Whatever the case may be, I will seek counsel with those who know better. I believe I was directed to the Lasombra neonate child of Ulrich. She has dealt with them personally. I will need to get information from her before I act anyway.
Yeah, she seems to be something of a group of up-and-coming Ancilla here. Let's hope she's up to standard. There's also the issue of the ones who decided to destroy the former prince. I have word that one of them is in Abraham's fountain. The other one appears to have either vanished or left entirely.
It is entirely likely. I witnessed their capabilities firsthand. I was there when the prince died. We were unable to do anything. But if it please you, I will send the Merchant of Bones to speak with you on the issue. He knows more than I.
I'll definitely speak to him on the matter. I believe he has information regarding the Lady of Wrath.
Yes. And the force that is in Abraham's fountain.
I see. If I may ask, what do you know about the Lady of Wrath? I'd like to have a handle on our enemies' motivations before I start heading after them.
She broke easily under horses' hooves. As far as motivation, she seemed to have some fascination or obsession with the canite form, our inhuman qualities. She had substantial dealings with a Ancilla of the Toreador, in recent nights accused of infernalism and fled the city, but also Madeline of the Lasombra.
Johanna de Gormayas, if I recall. I can never pronounce that name properly.
Guimarães.
Guimarães. There you go. I need to roll my R properly.
Guimarães. Gi. Like a karate gi. Guimarães.
Yeah. She says it properly, I don't. Yes, I believe outside domains have already barred her from entry due to her
proclivities
and a very heavy debt will settle them.
But she is not important. What is important is that the Lady of Wrath was captured by the Cappadocians, though to what end, I cannot say. Research, study.
How did they capture her?
Gerard will describe it because I don't really remember what happened, but I remember it did happen in the scene.
Takes a out and puts it in a bottle.
Yeah, he'll describe that. And then it was turned over to the Cappadocians. And since has been an issue of interest to those parties that destroyed the prince. So whatever it is, I would direct you to speak with Father Jose of Clan Cappadocian or the Merchant of Bones. Both of them are able representatives of their clan.
I understand. In which case, I'll leave the issue of these hunters to yourself and Katerina. I will have, and no doubt the Seneschal will have some spotters outside the town itself. I have no doubt, Silent Blade or not, once they begin falling over, they'll no doubt attempt to remove themselves from our sight, and we'll need to keep track of them.
Wait. And also be aware of their movements within the city.
Yes. Even before I came here, one of my retainers who travels through and from here did make me aware about a cell in the city. I believe this was before the hunters became so numerous.
Right.
I would be more upfront about any reward that I'd be able to give you for your services. This does actually lead me into the latter issue I'd like to discuss with you. I believe you have a long-standing issue with Clan Lasombra. Or at least they have one with yourself.
Something like that. Dates back to when I was young and full of ideological zeal. When things were different in Odessa.
I remember those times. Hopefully my presence here will return things to the way they were. But regardless, I'm not sure if it is due to my presence here, or perhaps your own actions, or the political situation. But an offer has been put on the table. To resolve this issue permanently.
Gerard's expression doesn't change, but he clasps his hands together thoughtfully.
The clan...
Excuse me.
That's quite alright. And I believe the Seneschal of Timorin, if I ever heard correctly, was fairly open about why they have a particular issue regarding yourself. The offer as it stands is that, of course, as they believe in unproven accusations in regards to yourself, they would like recompense in the form of one of our own. And if you're able to do such a thing, that they will consider the matter lost to time.
I see.
Which, of course, I bring to your attention as a member of our clan rather than as the prince, due to the rather far-ranging implications that such a request has.
Indeed.
Now, if I'm to be completely honest, yourself and Andrea are far more valuable to me than any of the other Ventrue in this city. Hammond, for all his military merits, is a man of war, and has found himself unable to adapt even now. And while, of course, it is a common stereotype that elders are notoriously slow to adapt to modern times, he represents something of an extreme case. We also have his child, who seems loyal, unfortunately, to a fault, and seems to act much as his sire does.
Indeed.
Winthar, I suppose, is of value if only for the outsider perspective she provides. And she does say she.
I mean, Gerard is pretty sure.
Yeah.
Well, if it is a matter of speaking between two Ventrue and not prince and subject, I would find that most of these individuals are useful in some way or another, even the troublesome ones, like Herman.
Yes.
Whereas I have a pair of children that might suffice, more personal for them, if that matters.
I believe that they believe this is a zero-sum game. Or at least this particular matter.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can recall lineages and generation correctly, it would have to be someone the equivalent of your current potency or Siegfried's or above.
I see.
Of course, we can simply refuse.
This is true. I do not claim guilt in the matter, but I much would prefer to have that matter resolved. But I also have not been terribly inconvenienced as of yet by their scheming.
No.
Would that I could throw Henry at them, for instance. The lout. But if it is to be someone of my standing, that leaves very few options.
Unfortunately, it does. But we do still have options.
I will consider this for the time being.
Of course.
I do not sense terrible urgency in the matter.
No. My concern is they have put themselves in a position to make this court far more difficult to run should the offer be neglected for too long or handled improperly. Not that I'm held hostage, but it does make my life far more difficult here.
I am in the interest of making your time as easy as possible.
And I did reach a compromise with the Lasombra in order to prevent the needless loss of Canites in this city.
I figured as much.
The last thing we need is to be killing each other over a civil conflict while the prince's assassins lurk in this domain and hunters eagerly await to overthrow our dominion in this city entirely.
Correct.
Enough of us, I believe, have ties, or strong enough ties, to weather the storm, but I'm also aware that a lot of us do not, and that is why this issue has, well, these issues have gone unresolved for so long.
The most obvious resolution is to assume that Herman will not take this sitting down. I did quite offend him at the Elysium before the decision was made.
I've
And
been
if
attempting to assuage him over the past few days, but he has denied my princedom in all but name.
if he is to be dealt with, we would likely find little use for Siegfried, and that would be my choice to send as recompense to the Lasombra in order to facilitate an easier transition.
Siegfried I find and have always found to be the vassal to his lordship. Admirable in a given sense, but
I do not relish in the idea of giving any of ours to theirs for baseless accusations, but I am very interested in making sure that stability returns as soon as possible. There's a lot that can threaten this nascent princedom.
yes. I shall keep you informed as to Herman's following actions and his child. Hopefully we can limit any damage done to our clan.
I'm more in the interest of forcing the issue. I do not think that Herman is capable of changing his mind, and I would rather get ahead of it before problems are created that require as much attention as simply removing him would be.
I see, if I may ask, what is Gerard specifically implying in this scenario?
He's specifically implying getting rid of Herman, whether it be to force him to leave or destroying him.
My thoughts exactly. As unfortunate as it is sometimes, the arm must be cut off in order to purge the infection.
Quite. And Andrea, no doubt, would make a capable Primogen.
Speaking of infection, and where the Toreador have long, well, I say long, have had a recent spat with forces that I believe we can all get behind when it comes to their mutual when it comes to their extermination.
Quite. What of
If
them?
you, by any coincidence, happen to discover suspicious behavior, don't feel afraid to report it to myself or the Scourge. I'm aware the Scourge is something of a character, but he is effective.
Well, the Toreador were represented by a murderer and a monster at Elysium. I thought the matter dealt with, but it would seem that Rosalie had not handled the problem when she left for Bira. Tsumitsu would likely be interested to know that he has learned of their unique gift with the manipulation of the body.
Interesting. I never knew Gwyn that well.
Well, he tried to murder me.
That does not surprise me. He is fairly well known as a mentor of a particularly self-centered road.
Quite. But if it is useful as a means to perhaps make friends among the Tsumitsu, as difficult as that will be, it might be a gesture of goodwill. The Toreador in the city are currently beyond all repair. It would take quite an influx of new blood to expunge that stain.
Yes, I personally hope Giles takes up the mantle. He seems the only one with any sense left. He'll have his work cut out for him either way. As for the other two candidates, I'm very much in agreement. I don't think anybody wants Gwyn to be in control of the clan. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up chasing half his own clan out of the city. But I'm no fan of the alternative of the newcomer. I don't believe I've met her. Offhandedly mentioned Margot.
Well, I met her a couple of times. She seems very cozy with the enemies of Clan Ventrue. What that means is unclear, and I do believe that she has acquired the stain of infernalism as well. Though how she is allowed to roam about freely, I assume that the issue was taken care of.
I did inquire. That issue has very much been resolved, and she has been cleared of all charges.
But the stain will always remain.
Yes. If I recall, it came down more to incompetence rather than actual malicious behavior, but still immensely concerning.
Quite.
I wouldn't want someone like that being the primogen of the Toreador. It would only solidify their status as fractured. But they'll have to make do either way. In any case, I will allow you to ponder the offer that has been made, and I'll be in contact in regards to the issue of the hunters and our in-clan matter. As you said, very much preferable that problems are taken care of before they arise or intensify any further.
And if they are dealt with, we will be able to move forward, create a court, settle the clan.
One that I'm sure you'll no doubt be a productive member of.
Either way, I would not presume to overload the court with allied members at the expense of the others, but there will also likely be a matter of the Ventrue primogenship, and either way, Andrea will make a good court member or a good primogen when that time comes.
Yes. And we still have the issue of sheriff and keeper. But
Perhaps I'll prove to you my capability in terms of solving problems as a sheriff might.
That I'm largely already convinced of, but further assurances are never a bad thing.
Very well.
Have a good evening, Gerard.
He nods and then stands and takes his leave, because I have a scene to go to.
Yep. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you all next time.